Introduction to Economics, Roots of Economic Way of Thinking, Part 7, adapted from my college notes taken a couple of years ago, presented by Doug Bainbridge. First, a little review from Part 5, a couple of things to think about when considering supply and demand. Economists Thomas Malthus and David Ricardo are cited in the notes at this point, and reading literature by them and about them can be quite a useful venture in my opinion. 1. Change in quantity demanded moving along the demand curve means the change is affected by a change in price. 2. Change in demand, the demand curve moves, means that something other than price is affecting the situation being modeled by the analysis. More review from Part 6. Prices of substitute goods. If price increases for the substitute, then demand increases for the good potentially being substituted. If the price decreases for the substitute, then demand decreases for the good potentially being substituted. An example would be oranges are a substitute for kumquats. Prices of complementary goods. If a price increases for a complement, then the demand decreases for the good potentially being complemented. If a price decreases for a complement, then demand increases for good potentially being complemented. An example is kumquat peelers are complements of kumquats. The next set of examples will add to these concepts by going over how to represent the previously covered information with supply and demand curves, showing how this looks graphically. Week 1, starting point. Description of graph. Number 1, left axis is price, which in this case is dollars per kumquat. A, price level subscript H is higher price. B, price level P subscript L is lower price. C, price level P with the hat on it is equilibrium price. Number 2. Bottom axis is number of consumed items per unit of time. Numbers used here are not exact. Kumquats per unit time is what is represented. 3. D with all those factors in the parentheses is referring to the demand curve, which is the blue line. Demand is a function of price of kumquats, price of substitutes, price of complements, income of the consumer, and on and on. So in this case, the supply of kumquats is set at 5,000, that purple line, and the equilibrium point is where it meets that price level P with the little hat on it. If the price is kept at price level subscript L, there will be excess demand. What that is saying, perhaps in practical terms, is if you set the price perhaps too low, you will sell your kumquats perhaps quite quickly, but there will be a number of consumers left over that will not be able to get kumquats because they'll already have been sold at that lower than equilibrium price. At price level subscript H, there is an excess supply of kumquats. In other words, at that higher price level, chances are you may sell a few, but the consumer is not motivated to buy them at the level they would be if the price is a little lower at that equilibrium price. So there will be kumquats left over. Week 2. Supply decreases. Description of graph. Number 1. Left axis is price, which in this case, of course, is dollars per kumquat. And the price with the superscript asterisk is higher price due to shift of supply from quantity 1 to quantity 2. And we can see in the graph for the purple line Q1, supply of kumquats at the first stage from the previous slide, moves lower to quantity 2 and causes the price level to increase. The bottom axis is, as we described before, the number of consumed items per unit of time, and in this case represents a decrease in supply of kumquats from level Q1 to Q2. Demand is as described before. So shift of supply from level Q1 to Q2 causes the price to increase. Week 3. Supply increases. Description of graph. Left axis is price as usual. Price level 3 is lower price due to shift of supply from quantity level sub 2 to quantity level sub 3. And the bottom axis represents number of consumed items per unit of time, and in this case represents an increase in supply of kumquats from level Q2 to level Q3. You can see where the purple line moves from Q2 to Q3. Traveling along that blue demand curve, we see where the price level, the equilibrium price level, drops down to level P3. So the price is lower. So the shift of supply from Q2 to Q3 causes the price to decrease. Conclusion. Analysis of supply and demand can become quite complex. I hope this presentation does a good job as an introduction to the subject, and if you have any questions regarding any of this material, feel free to email them to kitchentablemonthly@gmail.com, and I will do my best to answer them. Thank you, Doug.